Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has emphasized his country's right to exploit energy resources in the South China Sea. Mr. Marcos has called on his country to find a way to look for oil and gas in the contested waterway, even if it has to do so without a deal with China. Talks over joint energy exploration between Manila and Beijing broke down in June due to constitutional constraints and sovereignty issues. Mr. Marcos has acknowledged it will be difficult to resolve issues between the two countries, but is optimistic he can find ways around them. And Bernal joins us live from Manila. Bernal, Mr. Marcos has hinted there may be a way to get around the difficulties surrounding joint exploration in the South China Sea without any kind of deal between governments. Is this possible?
If you look at what's being done in the Philippines' sole deep-water natural gas field called Malampaya, it's a joint venture between the Philippine government and a private player. Now, the Malampaya gas field is located in the South China Sea, but not in a disputed area there, or not in an area that China refuses to cede, which means that China's reaction will altogether be different if a similar deal materializes in the disputed areas. Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has sounded the alarm, saying that there is a huge need for the Philippines to ramp up its oil supply, adding that number one, the Philippines' need for oil is more pressing than that of China, and that number two, addressing this need may mean foregoing government-to-government exploration. He said in that Thursday interview, quote, "This is a small deal for China, but a big deal for us. So we really need to fight and take advantage if there is really oil there." Now, this is expected to anger Beijing, whether admitted publicly or not. To recall, in two State of the Nation addresses, former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte disclosed to the public that his counterpart, Chinese President Xi Jinping, in their private talks, has warned him that there will be quote-unquote trouble if the Philippines chooses to drill oil in the disputed areas in the South China Sea. Two important things to note here. Number one is that some experts and a lawmaker have already warned that the oil reserves in the Malampaya gas field could be depleted by year 2027. That's a potential energy crisis for the Philippines, given that Malampaya services 5 power plants in the island of Luzon, which is the Philippines' largest island, accounting for some 70% of the Philippines' economy. But the other thing to note here is that while there is a potential energy crisis in the Philippines, there's also a huge potential for energy exploration in the South China Sea. According to the Asia Maritime Transparency Initiative, trillions in cubic feet of natural gas and billions in oil probable reserves and proven reserves are in the South China Sea.
Thanks for that, Bernal reporting live to us there from Manila.